Hi everyone, my name is Akshaj. And before we start, let me ask you a quick question. You all must have messaged someone on WhatsApp, right? You all must have scrolled something on Instagram, or you must have ordered something on Amazon. So every single of these actions you perform, and every single one, involves something called an API, and that was working silently in the background. You did not see it, you did not think about it, but without it, none of this would have worked. And today we're going to fix that. By this end of the video, you're just not going to know what an API is. You're actually going to see one working live in real time and on your own screen. So you may ask, what is an API? What does an API stand for? An API basically stands for application programming interface. But that does not really explain much, does it? So let's say you're building an app, okay, like you're building Instagram. Your app needs to show photos, right? So these photos are not sitting inside the app on your phone. They're sitting on a server somewhere in a database that is probably thousands of kilometers away. But so that here's the real problem. How does an app know that on your phone talk to a database sitting on a server so far away? Because without some agreed upon way of communication, your phone has no idea on how to ask the server for anything. It's like trying to order food in a restaurant by walking directly and shouting at the chef in a language they don't understand. It's pure chaos, right? So that is when API comes in. It's a standard way of your app to say, hey server, get me this user's photos, and get a response back in a way that makes sense. So you have to remember this one line. API exists only because two systems need a common language to talk to each other. So that's it. That's the whole reason they exist. So you may ask that what exactly is an API? So I'm going to show you a small analogy. Okay, for example, you are at a restaurant. Okay, you are a customer at a restaurant. So you are a customer, and you are sitting at a table. You won't go if you want to eat something, say pasta. You won't directly go to the kitchen and cook your own food, or nor you will directly go shout at the chef that hey, I want to eat something. No, what you'll do, you'll sit, you'll wait for the waiter. You'll sit for the waiter. If the waiter will take your order, and then he'll take your order and give it back to the kitchen or the chef. So that is what happens. Okay. So basically, in terms of API, this customer is our user. The waiter is our star, the API, and this kitchen is our server. So what is happening? You never touched the kitchen. You did not know how the pasta was made. You just needed a way to ask for it. So the user, you want data, a photo, your food, a weather update, anything. The waiter, the API, basically takes a request in a format that both sides understand and passes along, and the server does the real work, prepares the data and hands it back to the API, which handles back to us. So basically, an API is a messenger with rules. It has a fixed set of ways you are allowed to ask for things. So both sides know what exactly to expect. Now that was a theory, but before we get into something more, we have to talk about HTTP methods in API. HTTP methods, or you can call them verbs, define the actions to be performed on a resource or data in an API. There are four important methods in API, HTTP methods that are, first one is the get, okay, I'm gonna write one, get. The second one is post. Third one is put. And the fourth one is delete. Get is basically used to retrieve or read your data. Post is used to create data. Put is used to update data. And delete is used to delete data. It's in the name, right? So these are the four important methods. So you use the right method to get the right action. You may see it in detail when you actually write code in Python using API. So, but these are the four most important things you have to get to know, right? So for example, we have all must have typed something like, so for example, every time I type an URL in Google, so for example, I have this dummy URL, I have this URL with JSON text. So every time I hit enter, what I'm doing is basically I'm making a GET request, because you just never saw it labeled before. So GET tells the server what kind of action I want to perform. Like in a restaurant, they say what kind of food I want, do I want to eat. So that's the GET request. If I'm ordering food, it comes under post. And if I want to change my order, it comes under put. And if I want to cancel my order, I'm going to delete. Right now, I just want to read data, so I'm just going to use GET. Okay. You may see the slash user in this URL. So that is a specific thing I'm asking for. Slash user means basically give me a list of users I want. If I wanted a specific user, for example, I want a user with ID 1, I'm just going to write /1, and you can think it of the endpoint as the pointing to a specific item on a restaurant menu. Okay, so I'm going to open Chrome DevTools here, and okay, I'm going to click on inspect here, and I'm going to see on the network. Headers are extra informations sent along the request. They are like metadata. So they are like telling the waiter, like, no, I need no onions, I have a table reservations. So watch, if I refresh this page, you may see more requests adding up. So the common ones are like content type or authorizations, but you don't need to memorize these. They just know that they carry context about the request. So if you see this actual thing here is basically, this is what we came for. It's like the kitchen send the food out, raw data. In JSON format, as you see here, sorry, I'm just going to remove this. Okay, so this is what we came for. This is just a list of users with names, email, addresses. So notice that the browser is showing us this instantly, because URL is basically an API call. So Nathan, if you notice the shape here, that every user is one object with nested objects inside it for address or company. The nesting is completely normal in JSON, because these are used to prove the data is structured and readable, and we move on. Okay, so let me go back to our DevTools. Okay, and you will see something called status here. Okay, so if I mistype something, I may get a 404 error. Right now everything is 200. So here there are some codes. Status codes are basically API's way of saying success, or you made a mistake, or I made a mistake. It's a numeric shorthand for every developer on earth to understand. So till now what we have talked about? We have talked about method. It tells an API what you want to do. Then we talked about endpoint that tells what you want it to do. Then we talked about headers. That is basically extra context, like I want onions, or I have a table reservations, etc, etc. Then we talked about response. That is basically the actual data. And then we talked about status codes. Which is basically, it tells that whether it worked. Or not. So these are, let's make something this is something we have all talked about. Okay, let's do something here. Okay, for example, if I type github.com, so basically now I'm asking GitHub's API for public information, like followers or repos bio or whatever. Like I'm coming here, you see whatever. Okay, so This is I'm asking GitHub's API for public information. So now let's do something fun, right? I am going to switch to VS Code, and we are going to use API and create something our own API. Okay. So first I'm going to create a term. I'm going to install something called pip install fast API Euron. I already had that installed in my local system before, so that is not important. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new file called main.py, and now I'm going to write a small Python code. Okay. So first I'm going to import a package called fast API. From fast API I'm going to import fast API, and I am going to write something called fast equals fast API. It's like a variable, and now I'm going to write app.get /users. I'm going to write a small function, say get underscore users. I'm going to ask it to return, let's say, a set of users. Let's say the names are Akshaj, Rohan, Sam. Right? I'm going to save this, and I am going to, in my terminal, I'm going to write uvcon main app reload. Right? Now you may see this. Now it tells me that it is running on our 8000 file. So when I hit enter, it is showing nothing. So because I'm running users, it is showing. So look at that. That is my API running on my machine, and I just called it in the exact same way I called GitHub's or something previous. So same method, same idea of an endpoint. Now let me explain what I just did. Okay, I imported something called fast API. I created something called app where I imported the fast API module, and this is the most important part. You see app.get. Okay, app is basically this module, but .get is our HTTP method we talked about that get is used to retrieve data. So basically it is retrieving from the /users is the endpoint. It's retrieving data from /users, and we have created a get users function where it tells us that it will return us in /users. It will return something called this, because it's not important you have to write users. Let's say I write test. Okay, and if I write something called test here, let's see if it will work. So when I try to run this one, yes, so it works. So that is generally how simple it is to go from using APIs to actually building them. A few lines of Python, and we are not going to go in deep today because I just want to show you that the door exists. We'll talk it properly in some upcoming videos. So now if I want to recap what we have, before I recap, I just want to talk about some common mistakes beginners make, okay, before we wrap up. So mistake one is that confusing an API with a database. Our API is not where a data is stored. It is the messenger that fetches data from wherever it is stored. So database is basically the kitchen, and API is the waiter. So never mix them up. And common mistake number two is that API stores data. Following from that, the API itself holds nothing. It's like a pathway, not a warehouse. If the server goes down, the API has nothing to give you because it was never holding anything in the first place. And the mistake number three is ignoring status codes. So many beginners just check that, did I get the data back? And you stop there. You have to check the status code. A 404 with an error and a 2000 can sometimes both return something on screen, but only one of them actually worked. The 200 worked, sorry, not 2000, 200 worked, but 404 does not work. So you have to get in the habit of checking it every time. And the mistake number four is not written documentation. Every real API has something called docs, a manual telling you exactly what endpoints exist, what parameters they accept, and what they return. Beginners try to guess instead of reading 2 minutes of documentation and end up getting stuck for hours. So we have to always read the docs first. So if you will now talk about what we have just studied till now. So recap. So first we talked about what is API. Then API is basically two systems need a common language to talk. Then we talked about why an API exists, because they are a waiter between your app and a server, using the restaurant analogy. Then we talked about how HTTP request work. We talked about methods, endpoints, headers, response, and status code. We also saw some public APIs live, like GitHub, and we also built our own little API using Fast API. Then we also talked about some 4 mistakes you have to avoid as a beginner. So that's not a small thing. Most people use APIs every day, and without ever understanding this. So now you understand it, and you're a little more ahead than the others. So that was the video, guys. If this made things click for you, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.